Welcome to MPA Feedback Stream 24. I am the guild leader, and today with us we have Playhub and Radium.
Hello.
This is the stream we do every Friday at 8 p.m. UTC, where we take submissions from members of the music production Amino community, and we listen to them tracks live, and we give our in-depth feedback so you can gain a new perspective on your music. If you want to get your tracks on the stream, look for the featured post in the community. It's usually a yellow post featured in the music in Amino, and there's a submission link halfway down. And submit your track. You can add a little note, comment if you want, link to your, your stuff, SoundCloud link or whatever, and and then come next Friday and see if your track makes it on the stream. In other quick news, the MPA community collab for November has a lot of great samples in it. The master pack is up. It's as easy as downloading the pack and creating a track, with the samples. Any track, there's not a competition, so just have fun with it. Submit it into the community with the hashtag community collab, and we will give feedback on the tracks. Or at least we're going to listen to them all on YouTube. We can give our initial feedback, fun, just, thoughts, first impressions, and I'll prop tracks that I like, and we'll feature them just all for fun. It's a great way to collab, a great way to network. It's a great way to show off your skills, all that stuff. It's a great place to get some legal samples from your fellow community members. So the link will also be a featured post in the community. So look for Community Collab November 2020 link post in Amino. All right. So let's get right into this.
Yes, let's go into our first submission, which is the first submission for today is going to be Paradise Freak by DOPEXX. I believe that's a new person.
No, it's Reba here in the Reba.
Oh, okay, I see. Oh, right, different name than same person. Okay, that happens sometimes. Paradise Freak by DOPEXX. Have fun. All right, that was Paradise Freak by DOPEXX. So, they did leave us a note, so I'm not gonna read it because there is nothing. I could just read the blanks, blank, blank, blank. What did you guys think?
Okay, so what did you say? There was a note,
No, they
but
didn't. They didn't leave a note.
okay.
I was reading the blanks,
Okay.
the empty space. It was a stupid joke, and I
Okay.
just ignored me. What
I
did you
can't
think?
ignore it. No. This was an interesting track. There's a lot, definitely things that kind of bothered me about it, and I'll mention those. But I will here kind of clarify. So this is not a track from Reba. I see here in the chat. I do remember one of the A&R streams Reba dropped by and shared this track or shared DOPEXX music with me, or I could have been mistaken. But he is saying that it's a friend actually. So just as a clarification there. Okay, mix. I wrote some notes down here. So the first thing is all about the mix to me. I mean, you wouldn't have. It's not that the mix would have fixed everything, because actually there's some other sound design things that I think could have been, better, more interesting. But the mix definitely was not helping it at all, because it wasn't mixed right. Like there was just definitely. I think Blay was definitely mentioning the sub frequencies being too loud and stuff. And I agree.
Yeah, while
Although on my
listening to it,
headphones,
we sort of we sometimes we talk while we're listening to the submissions, which you guys don't hear, so it's a bit confusing. But I was saying that there's some issues with the mix. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll let you definitely. I'll let you hit on that, because on my headphones, I wasn't hearing that. Although I was hearing the problem with the subs, like I was hearing that it was causing a problem with the compressor and everything. But it must have been one of those sub frequencies that, yeah, on your subwoofer would have probably blown like your windows or whatever, or it's like. But on my DT770s, you could just tell there was a problem down there for sure. Maybe it was just a boosted frequency, boosted way too high down there, and that frequency itself was not pushing through on my headphones clearly enough to hear what it was, or the note, or the actual notes. But it
I'm
was
actually
definitely
guessing that
causing.
it's getting lost because of compression in YouTube, because the
Mm-hmm.
audio quality on YouTube streams
I
is
see.
only 128 megabits, so it's really
That makes
bad.
sense.
It might have been lost because of that.
But I'll just say, yeah, it's probably what it is. And I would just say though, for anyone, just for mixing techniques and advice with the subs, is definitely always remember the subs are going to be felt. They're actual vibrations. There are
Kilovolt.
harmonics you want to kind of you can kind of exploit in electronic music for sure, and you can exploit those harmonics, and you're going to get a lot of these overtones that you can hear, and it sounds like you can hear the sub. But the actual sub itself, there's rules to, like, just don't go above a certain dB, because it's gonna just be too loud. It's gonna be too loud when you try to turn it up in your car or on your home stereo or anything like that. The sub will get too loud too quick. So when you want to hear all the vocals and you want to hear all the other stuff, you're trying to turn it up louder, you can't, because the sub is just way too loud already. And but I know what happens is when you're making music, it feels good to hear that sub really loud. So there are tricks around that. You could temporarily boost the sub, but remember to turn it back off when you're going to actually mix it out. That's some things people do just so they can hear the sub. Another thing is to depending on your speaker setup or whatever, you can walk around the room. You'll notice different spots in the room where you'll hear a lot of those sub frequencies. Another thing is good, decent headphones that that kind of boost it, but a reference sub. So don't always have it on. You could have a sub, one of the kind of subs that would like competing, like really, really loud bass you'd hear in a car or a club or something. But you don't want to leave it on the whole time, because what you'll do is you'll think that bass is all in there, and you'll finally turn it off and the bass ain't really there, and it'd be like, but you can mix, and you can turn that on, feel the subs, really make sure the subs are tight, but turn it back off. You want to make sure everything sounds good because not everyone has those subs. You want to make sure it sounds as good as it can, even just on a cell phone speaker, and that's where everything is. And the sub is just there for the people that have the sub. But you don't want the sub to be causing your limiter to do all this stuff, because the people that are listening to it without the sub aren't. It's almost like an illusion. Like, what's causing the compressor to do all that? They don't even hear it because it's so low. So you just want to be real careful when it comes to mixing your subs. You just remember that in the right environment, those are going to vibrate your body. It's not about hearing them; it's about feeling them. So, and you'll feel them pretty quick. Turning them up. So anyways, I would say just the mix, make sure everything has its own space in the mix. Some frequencies are going to overlap, but the dominant resonant frequencies need to be not competing with any other resonant frequencies in the mix. Another thing I really was bugging me about this was the sound design itself, like the actual distortion and everything was just like too downgraded, too crunchy. I like it when people do that 8-bit crunchy stuff, but not as the main sound design the entire time. I like when it's just sprinkled in, like you hear a lot on like some very modern tracks that are still trying to pull off that video game sound or the 8-bit sound. It's not the entire song, although I do know there are some genres that it is supposed to be the entire song, like chiptune and everything. But I would have just tried to make the distortion a little smoother or something. But overall, I like the vibe of it because the rhythm, like the feel, like I feel like if I wanted to put some vocals on it, I could really groove with it. But it probably could have used a couple more chord changes or something because it was really just mono, like really mono style, like just seems saying just one chord the whole time. But anyways, I'll pass it over to Blay here. What do you think, Blay?
Yeah, I just want to talk a little bit little bit more about the whole bass issue because I think it got a bit lost on stream. But what I'm hearing, of course, is the raw audio coming from the file you sent, which I don't know, might have been MP3, but obviously it's going to be a better quality than the stream, which is a bit unfortunate, but we can't change that. There's no settings for that. That's just how YouTube handles audio stream, which is pretty awful, but what can we do about it? We can't do anything. So the issue is basically, I didn't verify any of this, but just from listening to this on my headphones, I could tell that there were obvious issues with the bass. I may take it with a tiny grain of salt, a singular grain of salt, because I did not analyze it properly. But I would advise you to. I'm guessing. I'm imagining that you're listening back to this on, let's say, not the best headphones or speakers that you could have, which you don't really have to have those, especially if it's more a hobby for you or something, But what you should really do, in that case, it's really even on really good speakers, on really good professional monitors, and really good professional headphones, you shouldn't really trust only your hearing. You should, of course, listen to what you're doing and go by that a little bit, but you should never skip the part of visually analyzing your music with simple things as just a spectrum analyzer, which is built into every DAW probably, and if not, if you have a parametric EQ, is going to have a spectrum analyzer built into it usually, which shows the sort of where the amplitudes lie across the spectrum of frequencies, and you should probably be able to see that you have a huge spike in the bass and in the low to low mid sort of area, maybe even sub bass area, where it's usually not even audible, but it's just this rumble that makes your speakers vibrate and stuff like that. There's going to be a huge spike there, I imagine, probably much louder than the rest of the mix. Yeah. So you should really make use of these visual tools, even if you have decent playback equipment, good headphones, good speakers. You should always check back using these visual analyzers, because they can really reveal things that you otherwise wouldn't notice, either just even because of technical limitations in some cases. And you want to still fix those, because depending on what people play this stuff back on, it might actually be harmful to the equipment and actually to the hearing as well of people. It's sort of dangerous. We're playing with something here that could actually be really harmful to people and to people's properties.
Everybody's speakers.
Yeah.
The speaker killer track. Oh no.
It could happen. It could actually happen. There are some dangerous frequencies that are difficult to hear, but can still do some like really bad damage. If the rest of your track is really quiet and people turn up their speakers, and then there's this low rumble that just slowly eats away at their speakers and stuff like that, can actually be harmful, or damage their equipment. This is pretty unlikely, but it's not something unheard of.
A lot of the compression and stuff that the platforms do kind of save us from that, because if it was just raw files, you definitely could blow people's speakers.
Sort
and
of,
you can still,
yes.
you still can.
I
definitely agree with the analyzers.
Yeah,
and
I
would
believe
just throw in there the first analyzer.
Yeah, I believe Ski Lion made a post on MPA last year. It's quite a while back, where he was talking about. I think it was Ski Lion. It might have been Arcleg, Akeleg. No, I think it was Ski Lion though. He made they made a post about certain harmful frequencies that are damaging to you, which are mainly caused. There's harmonics that are introduced through compression, actually, and if you listen to it too loudly, they can damage your hearing without you really realizing it. So you gotta be really careful with these things. I'd advise to look up that post. I might feature it if I can find it again. Might have to do some digging.
Try to look for that.
Yeah. But anyway, back to the track. You should really you should really go in there with a spectrum analyzer and see what's going on there. Because you can't. I'm just gonna say it how it is, because I could tell with my headphones, which I'm using right here. They're okay. They're not the best. They're not the best headphones that I own. Even they're the ones I use for streaming, which are closed back headphones. In my studio, I use open back headphones. But even with these, I could tell there's some major issues with that. So I'm just gonna say what I think it is. I think you're just not on the best equipment that doesn't let you hear everything there is to it, which you're not gonna have anyway. You're always gonna have to use visual analyzers and tools to help you identify issues, or even help you identify imbalances of your mix. Because I felt it firsthand, basically, a couple of years ago. Actually, a bunch of years ago, I had issues just like that, where I wanted more bass in my masters, in my mixes and stuff like that. Just cranked it up until I could hear the bass, and then listening back on other systems, it was too powerful, and I couldn't figure it out. Then I got a spectrum analyzer and looked at it, and there you go. There's the big spike, the massive spike in the bass, and I couldn't hear it because the headphones I used back then, they just wouldn't render those. But I said, oh well, I'm gonna find the sort of middle point, the balance point of that, and just do half of this spike because it's probably unrealistic. Well, a couple of years later, I got better headphones, much better speakers, and there it was. And it was a massive issue, and they were all things I had already released, so there's no fixing it now. So really, it's never good to rely on one system to check what's going on, in this case being your ears. You should always do the visual check, because it actually analyzes what's actually there. Just takes some figuring out to so getting used to how you can reliably read and make use of the data you're getting out of that. But you should really make use of it. Really, really important. And this track is definitely suffering from it. I had to turn it all the way down because it was actually hurting my ears. So I didn't want to listen to it because I could feel it. I felt like it was damaging my ears. Not sure if that's actually what's happening here, if this is dangerous to listen to, but it just was really, really, really unpleasant to listen to. Really unpleasant. So you should really work on that. That's a massive issue with this track. I would not release this as it is. I hope you didn't, because you're gonna super, super regret it if you get better speakers at some point. Or something. Just, don't rely on just your hearing. You should always do the visual check. All right. I think that should be enough time for Radium to have finished her notes, if she has any notes. I don't know. Radium?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi,
I don't
Radium.
think I'm done with my feedback, but I don't remember what I wanted to say. So I'll just like read this third of a page. I didn't like the track. I don't have the stuff, the equipment, or the knowledge, or the experience to say anything about the mixing, but I know that it didn't sound as good as it should have sounded. And unfortunately, I cannot give any feedback or advice for that. But it didn't sound that good in my ears. I'm writing my feedback, but as I was writing my feedback, I realized that I don't remember your song. And like picture this. I just listened to the song. I wasn't doing anything else. I just listened to the
Oh, Radium, I believe you cut out there for a minute.
I can still hear.
So was
Maybe
it me or was it someone else?
I don't know. I could hear you the whole time, so
I
I'm not
couldn't,
sure.
and that's all that matters because that's on the stream is happening on my end. So could you repeat maybe the last, 15 seconds?
What was the last word you heard?
It cut out and really surprised me. It completely. Just keep going.
Surprise yourself, yeah.
Okay, I'll keep going. Anyway, I didn't remember your song as I was writing my feedback, and that says a lot about your song. I don't remember a chorus, a verse, a melody, whatever, or even like an earworm. I don't remember shit, and I just listened to your track. There's an issue here, teacher. There's an issue here. The thing that I can note the most, like the first thing that hit me in the face when I listened to the track was how empty it sounded, completely empty, and like it sounded empty on two things: the background and the track. Like it managed to feel. The track itself felt very like it lacked elements, and then it felt like the background lacked element. It's in, it's interesting. And the thing is, the fact that the background itself is so empty sounding, we have no choice but to focus on all the other elements of the song. I remember this weird, harsh, scratching thing. I remember how it sounded, but I remember that it existed. And the fact that it's so empty, you have to focus on these elements, but these elements themselves are so like basic, quote unquote, and they stand alone that it just makes the entire track super boring to listen to.
Yeah,
It doesn't feel finished. It doesn't feel like it's something you would put at a party and turn up to, even if it sounds. I mean, on the track itself sounds very like generic, but even though it sounds generic, it still doesn't sound finished, and that bugs me. Um, you would need something to put in the background. I don't know, a lead, a chord progression, something, so it would drown out the fact the elements themselves need a lot of work to make interesting. I would experiment on structure and arrangement because the song went exactly where every song like this ever go, and that's not refreshing. So yeah, overall, the track was just like pretty boring to listen to. And I think it's mostly because there are so many issues and lack of interesting elements that just didn't work in your favor. So I would take the track and put it back on the drawing board and I would kind of fix everything.
Awesome.
The end.
Okay. Yeah, great feedback. So let's yes. So evidently, I mean, overall summary, the track was, not the best track, but thanks for submitting your friend's track anyway. I don't know if Dope is with us. I have heard some other tracks from DOPEXX. They're not all like this. I think it usually is when there's not a consistency and mixes across their tracks. It usually is a headphone issue or there's different speakers and different environments they're working in, and that's just natural for people getting into music. They're all over the place.
Technical aspect, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a technical aspect. So, anyway, so thanks for submitting. Let's move on. Let's try to get some more.
We do have quite a few submissions today.
Right.
How many?
We do have 6 submissions. again for once. I'm super happy. Usually
that's always a good
4.
number.
Yeah,
it's always a good number, but we still want to,
Yeah.
we spent, it's like 26 minutes in, so we'll try to go a little quicker.
We're gonna,
So,
yeah,
right.
and I think it's gonna go a bit quicker. It's just rough start like it always is. Anyway, our next submission is going to be 404 beta 3.1 by Reba or R1 bar. Have fun. Oh, I'm being mean again. Oh, have fun. All right, that was 404 beta 3.1 by Reba, also known as R1 bar. That's just a joke, probably not how it's pronounced. Anyway, Reba left us a note actually, so I'm gonna read the note first, then we're gonna go to the feedback. So the note that Reba left us to this track is as follows. Second track of Motherboard EP. I don't know how to feel about it. Sometimes I like it. Sometimes I think it's hard to follow. I also don't know how to work with volume much. All right, so that's Reba's note. So what did you guys think?
I definitely like the mix was not that, it wasn't like perfect, but it wasn't that bad. It was a decent mix, but what it was lacking was and you mentioned right there, like working with volume, you could have done a lot with volume automation and some filter automation, and sometimes like writing the volume, and some sounds could have peaked up a little louder and went down. It was just very like everything was just very balanced in a way. the basses, you know, you have not a lot of neat bass ideas, but you went with a really simple, like arrangement for them. And what I'm like really talking about is in more complextro or electro styles where you have multiple bass sounds like that and you're switching between them. You kind of want to be a little bit more creative with the alternating. You don't want to just go da 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 da, like you're just switching, you're cycling through your basses and giving each one like a bar. You kind of want to be a little bit more creative. Like you kind of want to like one, like the very first beat is like one sound, and then you kind of the second, you know, 3 taps of the fourth, the first measure or whatever. Talking, you know, terms here. So 4 beats per measure. First beat could be one bass sound. The second 3, if the next 3 beats could be a different bass sound. Then the next measure is a completely different sound. Might take up the whole measure. And then the next one could be 2 beats, 1 bass sound, and then 2 beats. And you kind of want to be a little bit more. That's what gives it its neat sounds, because when it's 2 just bum 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 bum, every sound just gets one measure, it can be a little too boring, in my opinion. And the sounds, unless they felt like they were different sounds, like they were just completely different basses, which a lot of times that is how this stuff is made. But you want to try to make them sound like they kind of are all the same bass, but they're just they're just morphing into different sounds. You know what I mean? A lot of those really good complextro sounds, even, or not necessarily complextro, but dubstep and electro and stuff, where there are multiple bass sounds happening. It's neat when they sound like it's the same sound, but you're like opening and closing a bunch of filters and macros at the same time, and that's what's giving it its different sounds. And a lot of times that is what they're doing. So don't always think you need to make 4 separate basses. You could just have one bass, and then you have 4 drastic manipulations of that bass with the knobs, you know, and you use all those macro controls to get the rhythm, to get some of the neat effects you get from that music, the portamento and the legato stuff, the just the way one sound shifts into another sound. A lot of times those little micro transitions in between, you know, every bar and every beat and every sound shifting into the next sound, they really got to be just right. And that's what makes it sound like, oh, wow, how do you do this? You know, you don't want to give too much of the illusion away where just literally they can almost like see your DAW and they just see the 4 different sounds. You want to somehow make it like, I don't know, just a little bit more creative mixing. And then as far as volume goes, you want to add a volume automation to every track. A lot of DAWs already have that volume automation linked to the track. Sometimes you have to create it, but you want a volume automation on every track. And when you see some kind of conflict or some kind of problem with a couple notes, but it's not the entire track, you know, it's like, say you got one instrument and it seems to cause a problem at one point. So you kind of EQ it out, because it fixes it at the one point, but you're actually ruining it for the rest of the song that was just fine. A lot of the times, it's just a simple volume automation will fix it. You just kind of duck it out of the way real quick or bring it up a little louder, and you don't even need to rely on EQs. So sometimes you really got to know what's causing the problem, and sometimes it's. I mean, first thing you should do in any mix, first thing y'all should do in any mix is volume. Setting volume, gain staging, and setting volumes. Don't touch an EQ at all. That's unless there's some sound designing that still needs to happen. You don't really want to start moving the EQ. You want to make sure the levels of everything is just right, because a lot of times it is just volume. You want to think, you know, if these were all players in a band and everyone was holding an instrument, even if it's all synthesizers, place them in your mind, like on stage, volume wise. And if you're standing in the audience, someone's not going to be super much louder than the guy next to him. They're all going to be kind of, so just all these things when it comes to volume. But the main thing is, when you have that volume automation on every track, it's really easy just to grab it and like fade it off at the end of certain things. So it's not just, so your loops and samples aren't just ending abruptly. You can kind of do these little fades and trails, or even more so when a lead comes in, you can push the volume just a little bit and then pull it back just a little bit. The listener doesn't really know that you did that, but subconsciously your ears tune into whatever just got louder, and then you're like, oh, what is that? And then like it kind of fades back. So volume automate everything. You'll find that it really humanizes the track. Use your other volume velocity control too. So not just volume automation, but your velocity control when you're using MIDI data. And it humanizes your track. I On top of that, the only other thing I would have done with this, because I love vocals in all my music, and I just love, even if it's just a vocal sample, I love it. I know not all music needs vocals, but I think this really could have benefited from some since this was a very cliche genre, I think it could have benefited from some cliche vocal chops and stabs and little vocal things. But that's just me. All right, I think it's 5 minutes. I'll pass it over to Blay. What do you think?
Yeah. I definitely agree a lot with what you said, with other technical things here and there, which I'm gonna be completely honest and transparent. I am not an electronic music producer or dubstep producer at all, so a lot of the technicalities and things you want to go wrong, basically, other things I don't really know all too much about. So like specific distortion you'd want to have and things like that, you know. So I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the other aspects of music that is present in all music, almost all music. I'm going to say, because you know, there's some weird shit out there. Anyway, I like this. I liked it. I don't know. It's not what I usually listen to, obviously. But I did enjoy some aspects about this. I thought it did set a mood. It was consistent with that, and I think the things that you did were in tune with that. And I think it fit thematically. So the whole concept of this EP, I believe, is all about this idea of it's called Motherboard, and it's all with the naming of the tracks so far. I think we heard one last week. I'm not sure. Is all themed around this idea of computers and electronic and robots and stuff, things like that. So I think it really works really well. And what I liked about it is that you had a really good sense of the emotion you carried with this. It did feel a little bit empty in certain parts, just the way it was arranged. So maybe there's something that could be done about this, though it might just be down to taste and things like that. I always wished people would take things to the next level sort of thing. I'd always want in dubstep and things like that. I'd love if people did more melodic things, more melodically things, more interesting harmonic things. This is more a display of cool sounds and effects and stuff like that. It's a minimal things here and there. But there isn't really harmony. There isn't really melody. And yeah, of course, music can be music without that. But does it have to? Could you do something interesting with that? Because there's so much dubstep, and I'd be willing to bet that there's a possibility, or a likelihood that I could find a track out there that is exactly like this, and I mean exactly like it. Maybe not 100% like it, but up to the 90-95% alike. Because there's just so much of it. So much of it. Which, it doesn't have to be a terrible thing. But I always want people to sort of break free from this. And dubstep has been around for, some time. And electronic music. And I think it's a bit... it's its own thing. It's its own thing. It's not classical music. It's not jazz. It's not, whatever. But I think people could really learn from these other genres that have been around for a very, very long time. Even in other cultures, other classical music out of other cultures and stuff like that. And I'd really love to see people, really doing something new. And just really, and also going back to the old. I'm putting that in quotation marks because it's not really old, it's still being made and stuff like that, I just love to hear something like that. Now for this, it might not be fitting or not within, sort of what you had planned. But why not? Why not? I think it would be cool. But I still liked it. I think it's nice. I think it's fine. It's basic. It's you can't really, it's not like you did something like a glaring mistake or something. I think it's nice. I think it's good that it's actually, has a theme built around it, like talking about cover art, titling, and stuff like that. I think it's fitting for, the cover art with like a protogen. I think it's fitting. I think it's a fitting overall concept and piece. And I like that. I think that's something a lot of dubstep artists don't really pay attention to. It's often something like galaxy stars, it's sort of fun. Okay,
That's a great idea.
Anyway,
I
yeah.
still want to do some music exploration with you, or you show me a track, I show you a track, you show me a track, and we just really just have a you and me hang out one day, because all these things that you're looking for, there are definitely the big dubstep artists that do that harmony and melody and extended track, and they are those guys I'm always mentioning, but they're not there. You got to look. I think anyone would really, really, really benefit from listening to Savant, electronic artist, Savant.
Right.
He is.
I think someone showed me them before, and it's sort of. I think they sort of go in that direction, but they still don't really explore it because then it's a matter of, do you really understand music? Do you really understand? Do you really have a feel for harmony? Do you really have this feel for melody? Or is it just a struggle to get there? Which I'd say, this isn't even halfway. It's getting there, but there's so much more you can do. And I think that's where it's all lacking. That's what I really think. You should look at classical music and stuff like that, and you see that there are these endlessly long melodies and lines and different melodies stacked on top of each other and working off of another, and there's just so much going on. There's so much to explore there, and people just don't scratch the surface of that anymore. They just don't. They just don't know how. They don't know how, and that's a bit unfortunate because their music could benefit so much from it. Not saying that classical is the ultimate music. It's all I'd say it's all potentially on the same level in its own sort of realm that it's in, but it could benefit so much from another, but people don't take advantage of the internet because you can listen to all this stuff for free. Anyway,
it's always every producer in there, and once you start getting good and you get bored, you will start, or it's a good idea anyway, to explore some different modes of the scale and try to just think outside the box, make something that sounds like a classical piece from the get-go, and then do your little things to it and turn it into like some unique, fun track. That's really where you get into the interesting stuff. It's really where you're not trying to follow some pop rules and some other. You just start getting in there, experimenting, and it is fun to. You get all these neat little plugins that have all the scales loaded in. It's like, all different, like thousands or hundreds of scales, and you're like, I'll just use minor, Aeolian, D minor. That's what everyone uses. It's like, but go explore some of those other modes and those other scales, and they will sound like, not your typical pop song, but they'll all of a sudden start sounding like maybe Middle Eastern, or they'll sound a little more darker, or more like a Phantom of the Opera, and you're like, oh, that's that sound, and they're like, what's that sound? Then it gives you those ideas, and you run with them. All right, Radium.
Radium, yes, Radium. Gonna start the 5-minute timer.
You don't have to, because Masha is gonna be very, very short.
Okay, let's see about that.
I think the main reason is because don't think I've ever heard their music before, so I don't know what is on purpose and what is just for XYZ reasons. So that's why I need to ask, is this a genre that actually exists where everything we heard is expected, or is this experimental? I'm kind of confused.
Probably.
Yeah, that's why I'm keeping my feedback very generic, because I don't want to say, haha, it sucks, but it turns out it's supposed to be that way. I would never say that unless it does suck, but it's like I don't want to say something and turns out, oops, I'm wrong. So the most I'll say is I really did not like that at all, but that's because it's not my music in general. Even it's like, it's really like on the scale of EDM, it's really like in the back that I don't like and wouldn't seek in general. So it's not the track sex, it's radium does not like that genre in general. However, it did sound empty. Yeah, I know I'm saying it again, but I don't know if it's my headphones or something, but
And I found it empty in certain places as well.
yeah, I think you needed more just to fill a little. Even if you want to focus on one sound or instrument in your track, you can still have something in the background just to give it a little push. And there were places in the song where that push wasn't there, and I feel like it would have brought the point home a little more. So yeah, so there could be like more elements, like maybe like listen to the song a little bit and find where you could put a little instrument here and there just to make it full a little more. So that's what I'm gonna say, because I don't want to put my foot in my mouth and start a beef. So yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Under 5 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes. All right. So, should we move on then to our next submission?
I think so. That was
Yes.
great feedback. Thanks for submitting, Reba. And
yeah, thank you for submitting.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Our next submission is going to be Night Life by Purelemon. Have fun. All right, that was Night Life by Purelemon. All right, Purelemon did not leave us a note either, so I'm gonna read the blanks again. Blank, blank. Okay. So, what did you what did you guys think? I'm stupid.
Well, I don't think you're stupid, Blame. Let's start with that.
Yeah.
Okay, I actually really like this track, and I love Purelemon style and just overall the aesthetic of Purelemon and their artistry. I have already listened to this whole album EP thing, or most of it. I don't know if I listened to them all, but I planned on it. I added it to thing, but I did repost it on our music production Amino SoundCloud for everyone to see and support Purelemon and their release. So I really liked it. I would agree and say it's something that I always hear in Purelemon's music, which is something we hit on with Reba, which is volume automation and really bringing. But with your track and the opposite, instead of pulling things away more, I would have pushed things out and made them louder. Like certain leads could come out and be a little louder. I don't think it would cause anything to clip or anything. I think you got enough room in the frequency spectrums to push sounds a little louder and really make them the focus. But what keeps it interesting is it gets louder and then kind of goes right back into the mix. It's like that volume automation happening. It's not super noticeable, but it is. Things are getting louder, coming out to the front, playing "Hey, I'm the lead right now," and they kind of go to the back because the bass comes up for a little bit in places like the main bass part. It gets a little more aggressive, and then you pull it back just a little bit. You don't have to make big changes, but like for example, your distorted bass. This thing about distortion is the illusion of distortion is things distort when it gets too loud. But good distortion is, of course, it's not too loud. You're just distorting it. You're saturating it. But you don't want to make it sound like it's distorting, but for some reason it's real quiet and kind of weak. You're like that kind of just sounds like a blown speaker at that point. You want to make sure all of a sudden, like when it's your aggressive bass comes in, that it is aggressive, that it is kind of like whoa, shaking the speakers for a little bit, and then it kind of fades away, and the lead comes in, and then your other little part comes in. You want every part again, kind of like you rock bands or even a choir when different people will step out and do their solo up front. Or I'm sure in classical music all the time, certain instruments all of a sudden take the lead. They get louder. Everything else kind of gives it room. You can do that in electronic music a lot. The most common thing that does it is vocals takes over and everything kind of gives the vocals its space. But leads and vocals are kind of the same thing. That's why a lot of times you don't want to play the lead at the same time as the vocals. It's like the rhythm and the riffs and all that keeps going. The bass keeps going, but the lead and the vocals kind of take turns because they kind of both are the lead. So you want them to take the stage, not too loud, but you want them to take the stage, but it kind of come and go. And I think that would make the tracks definitely more humanized. Blay mentioned thin, and I let you hit on that too. And I think the only other thing that could have filled it up from being like too thin, like maybe there's just like big gaps in the frequency spectrum that you could have filled those in with maybe some reverb or some other sounds, or not sounds, but the same sounds, but boosted the frequencies in those places. Maybe it could have been a little warmer and fuller, like that wall of sound you get sometimes from when there's a lot of instruments playing. But I don't know. I don't know exactly. It did seem a little thin. I agree about that. But all right. But I did like it. I like it. I like a lot of the other tracks on the album too, and I recommend people going and checking it out. It's also on Spotify. Cool. So, what do you think, Blay?
All right. Well, I think it's a bit difficult for me to really say anything about it because to me it felt empty in every aspect. And what I mean by that is, you had some cute ideas, for some of the plucked sounds here and there, and things like that. But really it remained as these snippets of short snippets, tiny ideas. And that's that's a common theme that a lot of people on MPA sort of go by. What are you gonna do about that? Nothing, probably, unfortunately. Anyway, so I felt it felt empty to me. It felt empty to me that just the way it sounded. It felt thin sounding. It didn't really have. It didn't really have. It felt it felt strangely thin in the mids. You had a lot of highs, just talking about, about volume across the spectrum, the frequency spectrum. But then you also managed to have the highs sound pretty thin, and even the bass was probably the fullest sound of it all. But even that was a bit thin. So really strange. Very, very thin overall. Felt empty. Felt like a lot of empty space as well.
Right.
But the other thing I felt really thin and really blank and bare was, just the melodies and just the harmony itself. The harmony itself made it sound so thin. Because you had a lot of stacked notes of these plucked sounds. And there's a lot of just an octave high. You have the same notes stacked again. It's like 2 notes apart and stuff like that. And it's just really empty sounding harmony and really empty sounding melodies that go along with it. And that then mixing with the thin sounding sounds themselves is just a really bad combination of making something sound super, super thin, ultra thin. So thin that I'm confused as to how it's even possible to make something to sound so thin. It's really unfortunate. This is down to, mainly, it's down to composition. The composition is the biggest thing that's failed you here. Because that is where the main source of thinness basically stems from, I'd say. It's not even the sounds. It's not even, the mixing and whatever. That needs some work too. But just the composition itself is really, really rough. Aside from it sounding thin, it is aimless. There's no goal. I don't know where it's trying to go. It's just and then it repeats and it repeats and repeats and repeats, and the bass doesn't really have a goal, and nothing has a goal. Just nothing has a goal. Not even the arrangement has a goal. It's just completely aimless. I don't know what's going on.
It's the nightlife, man. The nightlife doesn't have a goal.
It does, though. It does. No matter where you are, there's gonna be a day at some point. It's so no, just saying. That's what's wrong with it. It's the composition. It's your main issue. There's no goal. There's no aim. Anyway, I'm some cute sounding things here and there, but I think mainly it's an issue with the composition. And I don't even know what to tell you. I don't even know what to say, what I should say that could help you improve that. I'm at a complete loss for words. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. I actually don't know what to say. I don't know I don't know how to help you. I don't know if you need help. You like it. You released it or whatever. I think you released it.
Yeah, this is a released song, and actually, I don't think it's
That's
I don't think it's that bad of a track. No, I don't think it's that bad of a track.
It's
I think
cute. It's cute and all. It's cute and all.
Yeah, I'd advise everyone to listen to it again. It's really not like a bad release. It's just it could use some work, but actually the point was lost on Blake for sure. But I liked it, and so there's subjective. It's so subjective right there because you say that there was no point, and maybe that's what you got from it, but obviously, there is a point to it. It's a little jam, and
what's the point? What's the point? What's the point of it?
Like most music, it's you dance to it, you groove to it. It did have.
But is that the point of the music? What's the music saying?
Well, this is my point, Blay. You can't just give a bunch of negative feedback and say I can't tell you anything, I can't help you. Well, this is a feedback stream, so
no, I'm saying I'm being honest. I'm trying to help. It's just difficult for me to come up with something.
What would you do if this was laying in your DAW right now and you wanted to change something?
If this was in my DAW, what I would do?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be so rude, but I'm gonna say I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna rearrange a lot of things.
Right.
I would rearrange a lot of things. I would completely rearrange the MIDI notation probably. No, that's the thing. It sounds fine. It's probably not even the mix or the sounds themselves that are the issue. It's the composition, and that's the issue. It's difficult to say anything there. I could come at you with music theory, whatever. Could tell you read this theory book, but it makes no sense. It's stupid. Don't theory is not going to fix. It's not going to fix your. It's not going to fix whatever. It's down to musicality. I guess the best tip is listen to more music and listen to a more broad variety of different styles and genres, and get develop your hearing, develop your ear, your hearing, develop what you're hearing, and your taste of music. Expand on it. That I guess that's the best tip. I'm just saying I can't give you the sort of oh, do this and it'll be better, because it doesn't work for this. It's this is down to development, to your own personal development of your brain, of your hearing, of your ear.
There we go. There's some feedback. Radium, are you ready?
No, because I don't know. I was listening to you guys almost debating, and it distracted me because I was like, "Oh my god, they're sleeping."
I want to make sure that this is. I've heard other tracks that I would agree with Blay on when it comes to like no idea or no point or whatever. But I do believe that feedback is a little too harsh, especially if you're not going to end with anything other than I can't help you. Because here's the thing, it's not that bad of a track. It's just maybe not. It's a filler track, maybe on the whole album or whatever, or in your opinion. But there was no like notes that were in the wrong. It was just stylistic choice. An artist makes choice. But when someone says it's unfortunate that they release this, no, I'm proud. Congratulations on the release, first of all. But anyway,
I mean, it's being submitted to the feedback stream.
Right, exactly. But it's not so bad that it shouldn't have been released. You know what I mean? Is what I think.
I don't think it's so bad that it shouldn't have been released. I'm saying it's, I think it's maybe a bit unfortunate that sometimes people don't seek out the feedback before they release things, because there might be some things they could reconsider and
definitely
go back in and try to change some things.
I wish y'all would just submit things that y'all are working on. That would be fun for the feedback stream. But if you just want us to tell you how good your track is, you got to be wary.
Let's be honest about this. Most people use the feedback stream as a means of promoting their music. It's the same with the feedback chat. That's why people get offended and upset all the time. They get upset at our feedback or other people's feedback because they just want to use it as a platform for promoting things, or just want affirmation or whatever. They don't actually want feedback. But that's the issue. This is the feedback stream. You're gonna get feedback. And if I get to a track where it's gonna be hard for me to judge it, where I'm upfront saying I don't know what to tell you, then that's, I mean, maybe it's just down to me, but maybe that's something to keep in the back of your mind and think about, what is there in my music that is there to talk about? Maybe there is not a whole lot to talk about. And that's the feedback right there. For me, there's not a lot I can say except, learn more, listen to more music.
But that's why they're coming
develop
to our
your
stream.
musicality.
We want to teach them, and we want our stream to be definitely a source of information, a source of learning. We wait all week to come here. They submit their track. I challenge us as hosts to come up with some feedback, and I stick to the positive, negative, positive thing, but we can do however we want. Although it's just, again, for the sake of having fun and making this enjoyable, we should just leave all our members with some kind of encouragement, not just straight up like, I just don't like this. I think so. That's my opinion. I think the whole point of viewing a stream,
I mean, that's what I did.
Time is to have a good time. I'm not saying any. I'm not even saying you. I'm just saying in general. I pay attention to that. So if I sometimes put myself in the shoes of the person getting feedback, and yes, it is a feedback stream, but like leaving the stream and having like, oh, well, now my song sucks, I'm in a bad mood, and all this stuff. It's like subconsciously. Speaking more on the back end of things, subconsciously, that person is a lot less likely to attend another one of our streams, submit another one of our songs, and have a good time with it. But maybe not everyone's as sensitive as I am. But I'm just saying, I do want this to be first and foremost a good time for everyone. So that's why I do lean more positive. I say the truth when it comes to track, but I definitely will try to leave everyone with some words of encouragement and direction to take it when they go back to their DAW and be like, okay, well, cool. So my next song, this is what I want to focus on. And Blade does a really good job of that too, and so does Radium. I'm just saying that's what I want out of these feedback streams. And I don't want them to be too negative. I don't like negativity in general. I don't want these streams to be too negative. So,
I don't
anyways,
think it was negative.
no, you're fine. I'm sorry, but yeah, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to point it towards you or anything. I'm just saying that's what I was feeling. That's what I feel sometimes on these things. So I was just saying it out loud. But we should move on. Radium, if you're ready, go ahead.
Wow. Shit. Wait, whatever. Give me a moment. So I decide like how I'm gonna do this. Okay, I want to weigh in because like I'm gonna be the neutral person today. I'm gonna weigh in on something. I think. Oh my god! Why are you putting me in that position? Why am I the last person to? Okay, I'm gonna start by reading my feedback, and I'm gonna weigh in. Okay. So, Purelemon, okay, your song fits your cutesy patootsy image. Okay, I won't comment, I won't complain about the fact that it's super jolly and joyful and happy and whoo, yay, Candy and La Vie en Rose. However, I know for a fact that Edgy Lemon is coming and it's an evolution that I want to witness. The most I'm gonna do is add my grain of salt because there's a lot of points that Blay made that I agree with. I mean, Gil said a lot of points too, but there's a lot of things that Blaze said that I agree with. You know, it's what's great with that feedback. Seems like you know the alignment of people. If you know, for people who do a lot of role play and stuff, you know the lawful, neutral, chaotic. Yeah, well, this is their feedback with two chaotic person and a lawful person, and it's amazing, and I love it. Okay, so I'll start by saying, you know, Lemon, we love you, we appreciate you, we cherish you. So your song is not bad. It's not an awful song that needs to be in the trash and buried and burned. Okay? Don't leave the stream thinking that it's a shitty track and you should quit. I know there's extreme people out there. I'll be like anyone listening, don't leave the feedback stream thinking, yep, my music sucks and I should quit. No. Improvement is simply necessary. And your song, there were many elements in your song that were good, you know. The melody, if you can call it that, or that little rhythm thing, was catchy. It's an earworm. Both the instrument choice and the quote unquote melody thing was an earworm. It's still in my head right now, so that's good. The groove, it's not, it's common groove, but it's a nice, interesting groove. No, if I had to use your song, I would not use it as a standalone track. I would most likely use it as a background thing for a video game, just a background vibe. I would not use it as a standalone. Now for the downside, there's a big lack of bass. There's a big lack of variation. There's a big lack of new melodies or new elements. And yes, the others mention it a lot, and it's very thin. Kind of, it's very like very high in a way, and you know we can push this away as okay, it's part of the image of the sound, but I don't know, it's still very thin sounding. So there's that. Now, I forgot what I was gonna say because I did not write it down. The mini debate was so distracting. I'm sorry, but very interesting. So, the track was repetitive. I think the main issue when someone says your track is aimless. Wait, hold up. Fuck. Hold up. Well, I wrote it down first. When I wrote the first version of my feedback. I said the track felt aimless, and I still stand by that lack of objective. Now, do I believe that every single track that exists on this planet needs to go somewhere? Not necessarily. However, I think it's important to be able to make a track that goes somewhere. I'm all for songs that only exist to make you vibe at the club. I'm all up for that. But at the same time, I think it's important to be able to make a song that has an objective, that has something. And to me, a song that is aimless, it's not just a song that has no story or anything. Maybe it can just be like, where does the vibe bring you? Especially when it comes to electronic music, there's no lyrics, there's no rap, there's nothing to try to decode or understand. It's important that there's a vibe that brings you somewhere. So when someone says your track is aimless, it's not always there's a lack of a spoken story. It can be a lack of vibe. Because, for example, your song, like I said, the groove is nice but very common. It's just a groove. Okay, I dance to your. There's no quote unquote groove that still goes somewhere and has a point that gives you different types of emotions based off positive emotions. And as Blake said, it all comes down to composition and opening your ear to different stuff. I do mostly, so obviously my be behind it, and their lyrics will it almost makes it harder because of the lack of lyrics. So that's why. But if your track is standalone, maybe a little less.
You can definitely bring it up again.
I just want to
definitely agree with y'all that people. I'll let you play. I'm sorry. I definitely agree with y'all that people should honest feedback from the stream feedback. And if you don't feel, it's the nature of feedback. But go ahead, Blake. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna respond to what Radium said about not every song goes somewhere. The track can of course be that it doesn't have this, big journey or something like that, But when I say something is aimless or goalless, then I mean just that. It doesn't even convey that. It doesn't know what it itself is. Oh, so that's the issue I saw with this. Not having a goal was clear to me. Okay. Is to... Apparently, Radium hinted at something big. Move on to our next submission. Or do you want to say something, Radium?
I was going to call and I love it.
Right, yeah. Something real quick. But Chica, you did submit. Your track is Lion. Have fun.
More quick to condemn the rest of the world. More quick to be quick to kill the rest of the world that does not think as it.
Alright, I'm gonna pull the stream back here and pause Skylion's track for a bit because apparently we have some issues with the stream they're getting from me. But I see the buffering too in...
But I'm playing a YouTube video and so far it seems good.
Right. I can see it buffer. It's definitely an issue. Okay. I'm not sure what to do.
Give it a second, try again. But did everyone notice that in the chat too? I mean,
people we're on the air right now because there's no point in letting music run if it's cutting out constantly. I don't know, it seems to be YouTube's issue. The ingest data I'm sending to YouTube seems to be fine. by YouTube's own reports.
Yeah, so
I might
causing
try
it-
switching to a backup server. I should probably do that.
Yeah, I think it's most live stream because I found a random live stream and it's buffering too.
Right.
Oh.
Okay, I see. I'm gonna
So-
guess that the backup server is not gonna do us any good then either. Anyway.
Well, let's give it a second. Maybe that's still doing it. Hopefully, we can listen to Ski Lion's track. I will do just a quick reminder.
Yeah, if you're getting through though,
everyone.
don't do any important things because people are seeing this with issues too.
Yeah, that's true. Well, just be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We are gaining subscribers. We're up to 107. More and more every day. Music. I've been going through everyone's SoundCloud and YouTube. We've trying to find people's posts in the community that have links. Trying to follow you. Please follow us back. And we'll listen to your music as you release it. I have been building playlists, community support playlists, community support on SoundCloud. There's one on YouTube. There's one on Spotify. So if you've released a song this month, I want to hear it. Please send it my way. I want definitely make sure I'm following you, or we're following you with our official music production amino channels. And I want to hear it. And if we like it, we're definitely looking for listen to our playlist for enjoyment. I don't mean it has to be the best community.
Okay, I think so. YouTube is definitely experiencing issues. So I'm gonna basically call it a day.
And sorry, everyone. Stream is.
I got a message ready actually.
Thing. So if we didn't get your track today, you can't hear us, but we'll get your track next Friday. Please tune back in. We'll just go and close this down. You can hear us, message us in the community if you have any